Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fatma Nasir and the topic of my presentation is Corsi block tapping test. The contents of my presentation are introduction, procedure, followed by results, application, and lastly, conclusion. So starting off with the introduction, the objective of this test is to assess visuospatial short-term working memory. The test was developed by Michael Corsi in 1972, and the test is traditionally administered using 9 square blocks positioned on a wooden board, but numerous digital versions have been developed. Now moving on to the procedure. The original Corsi apparatus as shown in the picture had 9 blocks on a 23 by 28 board arranged in an irregular manner. So in the traditional test, the experimenter, the person who carries out the study, shows 9 blocks arranged in front of the participant. The experimenter taps a sequence of blocks. For example, the experimenter taps a sequence of 3 different blocks, one after another. The participant needs to tap the blocks that the experimenter showed in the same order. Steps 1 to 3 are repeated multiple times with different lengths of blocks. The procedure of a digital Corsi block, called the e-Corsi block tapping test, has the following procedure. At the start of the test, the subject needs to keep track of the movement of the cursor as it lit up the specific number of cubes in sequence. The process is terminated by a beep sound, and the subject has to mimic the observed sequence depending on the instruction, forward or backward span. The backward Corsi block tapping is a slightly altered version of the original Corsi block tapping task. In the backward task, the subjects are asked to watch the sequence, and instead of mimicking the researcher's pattern, they are asked to repeat the sequence in backward order. The sequence increases by 1 block when the subject finishes the current sequence successfully. The Corsi task differs in forms for adults and children. For children, the task begins with a 2-cube sequence. For adults, the sequence starts with 3 cubes. Now let's move on to the results. The test measures both the number of correct sequences and the longest sequence remembered. The longest sequence a participant can correctly repeat is defined as the Corsi span, and average about 5 for normal human subjects. An fMRI study involving subjects undergoing this test revealed that while the sequence length increases, general brain activity remains the same. So while humans may show encoding difficulty, this is not related to overall brain activation. The Corsi block tapping task has a lot of applications. The Corsi block tapping task is a good measure of spatial working memory, used by neuropsychologists for at least 30 years. It is now a gold standard repeatedly validated by neuropsychological literature. Developmental psychologists use the Corsi task in predicting the cognitive function development. Furthermore, the Corsi task is a good tool in identifying the specific differences between the forward and backward spans. It also helps experts make professional opinions about medical conditions such as memory loss, testing of brain-damaged patients, or to test spatial and non-verbal working memory of patients with schizophrenia or Alzheimer's disease. Now coming to the conclusion, the e-Corsi test has several advantages, including simple installation, setup, and use, considerably increased accuracy in presentation timing, automatic measures of span and reaction times. It further reduces different sources of inter-test and inter-trial variability among subjects and examiners. It is easy to check for errors since all trials are recorded automatically. Moreover, e-Corsi becomes handy in testing bedridden patients. It can be useful in testing subjects after an operation, for example. For instance, it can be used in determining the residual spatial abilities after brain lesions in the focal area. Furthermore, eCoursi is less invasive because it allows remote administration of the task. And this brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for your precious time. And if you have any further questions, you can contact me on the email address mentioned.